Hello and a very warm welcome to this special conversation. A lot is being made out of a statement that has been made by the special advisor to the interim government of Bangladesh in the context of Mr. Yunus's assertion of Bangladesh's relevance around the land which he describes as Seven Sisters, which is Indian territory. What does one make out of this specific statement which has been made by Yunus Mohammed, then how should we be looking at it from an Indian landscape? With me, one of the foremost career diplomats that we have seen, Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, joining us live, distinguished fellow, Vivekananda International Foundation, with a diplomatic career spanning the length and breadth of the world, from the US to Libya to Bangladesh itself. Great pleasure for us to be welcoming you on our digital platform today, Ambassador.
Thank you, Benji, and my congratulations. I was very intrigued by the name the Squirrels, and I think it's so befitting in the today's diplomacy.
Totally, sir, totally. Small but fast, wants to reach its
Yes.
destination. That's what we intend to do here. So let me first begin by asking you, sir, what do you make out of this statement which has been made? Is this an indication to India that our northeastern territories are landlocked and that we require Bangladesh for access to the oceanic route?
I think that this is a very immature statement, and I would say it's perhaps you can condone him for the senility. He's become senile in that sense. So many of his statements have been very immature. And they are basically because he's not getting enough traction from the political leadership from India, so he's trying to attract attention. You remember that they have been asking for a meeting at the BIMSTEC on the sidelines in Bangkok. They have been complaining that why there's no leadership meeting. So he goes to China and he
Hmm,
tries to please the Chinese and wants to basically encash
hmm,
some kind of the competitive relationship that India and China have.
hmm,
So talks to China that you can use that and use the Seven Sisters, which he referred to,
hmm,
forgetting that they are not Bangladesh, they're Indian sovereign territory. And of course, he also forgets that three sides of his country have borders with India. And the other side is only the sea, so he can only go into the sea if
hmm.
he pushes too far. So, in my view, I think that this was a very reckless and unnecessary comment.
Well,
Maybe he meant,
but Ambassador, look at the fine infrastructural balance, if I was to describe it, that appears to be getting struck here. On one hand, you would remember that the Adani Power Corporation Limited, which was supposedly supplying power to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh could not pay that money, and therefore there was a danger of that power distribution agreement which existed between the two countries being snapped off. That has just now been revived because Bangladesh has managed to pay some money to Adani Power Corporation. On the other hand, this statement which is made by Yunus Mohammed, do you think there is any correlation between the two? Is he trying to bargain a better deal for himself with India, or is he trying to push himself as a better boy, a better leader in the eyes of the Chinese? Is this a clever diplomatic
I,
game, or is this sheer immaturity as you describe it?
he is a man in transit and in hurry. There are two things about him. He is not a elected leader. He is in a transitional phase. He has done nothing in the country. Things are not stabilized as yet. So he's just trying to, swim across somehow. That is one. Secondly, as far as the Adani and the power supply and other food and other civil supplies are concerned from India, despite the various statements, that despite the problems that we have had, or so to say, since they came to power, India has never shied away from supplying the essentials, anything, including the electricity and power, to the Bangladeshis. And that has continued. There have been discussions going on all through on various issues which are far more existential for them. And
Hmm,
so that is, even as you rightly mentioned, that even the Adani Group, which is a private group, which had invested a lot of money, and then finally they have also agreed to continue to provide the electricity to the country. The economy is in doldrums right now. So he is trying to go to China and wanting to salvage, say, okay, China should also help us. Precisely what at one time Sheikh Hasina was doing, but she was balancing in a way with due proper respect for India and continuing with China. So,
hmm,
not ignoring India's security concerns. But here, the other angle of this, apart from China, is his outreach to Pakistan. to allow these Islamic militants, Jamaat-e-Islami, and all kinds of people, leaders who are in jail, releasing them. That causes a security dilemma for us. And I think that that's where it's very important. In that context, also, the northeastern states are extremely important. And I believe that we'll have to be far more cautious. So I think that he was simply wants to earn the brownie points. But what I can gather is all the Chinese would be somewhat pleased, but I don't think they're going to buy it from him.
Hmm. What is it about Bangladesh? Let's just try and settle this question of Bangladesh for a moment, because let's look at it from a domestic political prism. We all have seen how leaders like our Home Minister himself have often described Bangladeshi illegal immigrants as termites, and that led to a lot of outrage in Bangladesh. I remember at that time. A lot has been made out about how when Muhammad was taking, in a sense, taking over, or Sheikh Hasina was being evicted from the state of Bangladesh, how Hindu population in Bangladesh was being targeted. We seem to have, very topsy-turvy, uneven relationship with Bangladesh. Either we want to do excessive business with them, or we want to be completely suspicious, doubtful of them, whether their intentions vis-a-vis, as far as their intentions vis-a-vis India is concerned. Can you help us understand what is this dilemma that we have as far as the territory of Bangladesh is concerned, sir?
No, I don't think we have a dilemma. The only problem is that you tend to, in diplomacy, you deal with the government of the day. Now, earlier, Sheikh Hasina has been there for 15 years, and Awami League has had good relations with India. So, obviously, our relationship prospered. And the relationship with Bangladesh was said to be one of the best in the neighborhood in accordance with our neighborhood first policy. We had also invested more than $8 billion in projects and tried to help them as much, brought them back into the BBIN and the BIMSTEC and all those, providing them with the pivot essentially to Bangladesh, because during the last 15 years, Sheikh Hasina, one thing that India always wants from its neighbors is handling the avoidable security issues, and which they did actually. We used to have a lot of problem in our northeast from Bangladesh. All these terrorist groups used to come inside and all, so they were all contained, and that is one of the things that is extremely important for us. Now, as far as Bangladesh thinks that it has such a strategic location. Of course, it is a ocean-faring nation. It has a very big position also in the BIMSTEC. But at the same time, I don't think that they could have had this kind of an economic upheaval that they had, but for India's assistance. The textile industry is extremely dependent on India for
Yes.
everything, investments down to the supplies of raw materials and everything. The India brought it, and that's the one which earns them the maximum foreign exchange. So they got carried away, but at the same time, every country has makes the choice. But I tell you, this is topsy-turvy relationship has been there, and it is that after the Sheikh Saab was, killed, and the Sheikh Hasina, the other generals who were pro-Pakistani, uh, BNP and others which came to power, obviously they tried to have an anti-India stance. But at the same time, it was not that bad, even then, as it is today, in my view, the kind of statements that are coming from Mr. Yunus.
Hmm.
Basically, because these are baseless statements that are not giving any traction really, except, I believe, the media hype to him. He is not
So
going to get anything out of it. Yes.
is he trying to dispel this notion that he has been instated by the American deep state, and now he's singing this tune which could supposedly put him on the right side of the Chinese? Is that the game, or you stick to this position that this is an ill thought of statement which has been made by him?
No, I presume. I mean, he has been a civil rights activist, basically, like not a diplomat in that sense of the term. He has always opposed Sheikh Hasina, so it's fine. One understands his extreme positions. So it happens, an enemy is your friend kind of thing. So this is precisely what situation he is trying to encash upon. But I must say that he is definitely, I mean, this was again the US deep state, as you rightly mentioned, brought him to power. There is no doubt about it. And this was essentially that they thought that since Sheikh Hasina was able to manage India China relations without much trouble,
Hmm.
both sides were reasonably happy with her. So they thought that it will be a good idea to, the India is not going to take on Sheikh Hasina in that sense to counter China. But the Americans wanted to play that long game.
Hmm.
And in that one, in my view, they kept India completely in the dark. and went ahead. And I was there 3 years ago for a conference, and I
Mm,
saw the American ambassador, Peter Haas, trying to create all kinds of mischief there. And
mm,
this precisely eventually paid off, because when the United States really get in with that kind of money, with kind of, the assets that it is able to dislodge any regime change it can do anywhere. So
mm.
I think that this was precisely what happened. But now comes President Trump. He has stopped the US aid. So all the projects and the funding that was coming through the deep state or through USAID to Mr. Yunus and his company and the students and others who are involved today, that is all stopped. So he has no money in that
Okay.
sense. And the foreign exchange problem they are already facing. So therefore, he goes to China, thinking that China is going to bail them out to do something more.
So, if you explain to me, sir, if you were in the shoes of Dr. Jaishankar today, who's brought in a lot of muscularity in India's foreign policy, would you be ignoring this statement which has been made by Muhammad Yunus, or would there be some kind of an official response from the Indian state? Should
I
there
think
be some
they
kind of an official response?
No, I think that there would be a response with regard to India's territorial integrity and his uncalled for comments, and I think that should become forthcoming. But at the same time, sometimes in diplomacy, it is not always good to have those robust and fist fights. It works in different ways, in many ways. Very chances are that Mr. Yunus is facing trouble at home also, as you know.
Mm,
So we don't know how long he's going to last. That is another thing for
mm,
him. So India is trying to today project and work with, which has always been the case. But personally, in my view, I think we failed to connect with the people of Bangladesh for whom India was doing everything, but it was being seen as if we were supporting Sheikh Hasina all along. I mean,
mm.
that's what situation India is trying to correct. That irrespective of the leadership, India remains committed for the safety, welfare, and goodwill of the Bangladeshi people. I mean, that
Mm.
is more important from our point of view.
What about the Chinese question then? Just like I was asking in the context of Pakistan, from a Chinese standpoint, we all have seen how Parliament has continued to be in a state of uproar. Even today, Congress's lead spokesperson Pawan Khera is questioning the Prime Minister, questioning the Indian state as to why are we complimenting the 75th anniversary, for the Chinese. Indian Consul General in Shanghai is cutting a cake with the high and mighty in the Chinese political establishment. The statement which has been made by Yunus Muhammad in the context of our uneasy relationship with China, does it aggravate the problem? Does it end up becoming a roadblock for our attempts in India to try and work out some kind of an amicable relationship with China?
I think that is an insignificant thing until unless the Chinese are foolish enough to speak on this issue. I don't see the Chinese are going to react at all, nor have they reacted when the statement was made. But at the same time, I mean, China is a very important partner, the biggest neighbor, the strongest neighbor. So you need to work with them and they need to work with us. It's not one way only. I mean, they are also coming forward in many ways. As you know, the several visits and the meetings that have taken place, and they have also realized the changing global chart. So, India and China relationship is not happening in the context of Bangladesh, in my view, or Pakistan or others today. It is happening more in the context of the global developments that are taking place, which every country is trying to find how we are going to get there or which way it's going to eventually emerge. So I think in that sense, it's good to have a neighbor with which you don't have a war. You must have some kind of a collaboration, which is your second largest trading partner, and they are looking to invest in India and work together. I mean, yesterday they celebrated 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations. So I believe that even if the Congress was in power today, they would be celebrating it also. I mean, it's not that these are normal diplomatic protocols that are done. And this is a relationship that you can't wish away.
Okay.
For that matter, no other relationship. I mean, neighborhood is equally important. But to what extent can you engineer that or maneuver that depends on your capacity and intent.
So, bottom line, sir, I hear from you. Ignore the comments which have been made by Yunus Muhammad. They hold no gravity, no water for you.
I think of it as a senile comment and get going with that.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks for that absolute
Thank you.
clarity, Ambassador
Very
Gunai.
much.
Great pleasure speaking to you, sir. Great pleasure.
Thank you so much.